Greetings, friends. This is Reverend Grant from St. George's. This upcoming Sunday, we celebrate Juneteenth, and I warmly, excitedly invite you, your family, friends to come join us for the celebration. We will have one service at 10 a.m. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're having our jazz band return. We'll have special prayers and intentional focus throughout the service on the themes of Juneteenth and how that connects in with our Christian faith. And then afterwards, we'll have a fun second line procession down to our parish hall where we will celebrate with a festive coffee hour that will include chicken and waffles. Now, I don't know about you, but I think everyone likes chicken and waffles. So I hope you'll come and join us for that. Again, one service at 10 a.m. Now, I do want to take a moment to just pause and reflect on the importance of Juneteenth, what Juneteenth means to me, particularly as a white individual. Juneteenth is a holiday that has been around since 1865, when it was first marked 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, and the enslaved who were held in Galveston, Texas, were finally freed 2 years after they were meant to be liberated. Now, while this has been a part of the culture and that has been lifted up and carried through in the African American community and through the African American church, it's largely gone unnoticed by the white community, with the exception of the first couple years when there was fear about what might be happening in those celebrations. But really, up until a couple years ago when this was made a federal holiday, it wasn't on the minds of the majority of the folks here in the United States. So what does it mean for us then, particularly those of us who are not African American? What does Juneteenth mean for us, and why is it important to honor and celebrate it? For me, I see it as a great gift. It's an invitation to know a part of our history that has been hidden for so long, that was not discussed and pushed aside in many of our families. Knowing our history is important. Knowing the ramifications of the decisions and actions of past generations and how that leads to our current reality is essential in knowing how God's inviting us to be present today and how to work with God, to be an instrument alongside God of healing and transformation. We can't do that. We can't do that effectively if we don't know our history, if we do not know our place in this story. Juneteenth offers that to me and offers that to all of us. It's the celebration of Juneteenth that led me to dig deeper into the history of enslavement and what this time period looked like. And it's helped open my eyes in a lot of ways. Over the past couple months, I've been reading Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl by Harriet Jacobs. It's an autobiography of a woman who was enslaved in North Carolina, right about the time, right before the Civil War. It is a moving tale, and it's one where there are many people who do not come across well, and in particular the church, the Episcopal Church, we do not fare well. For we too have been a part of this tragic history, and our hands are covered in the bloods and the sin of enslavement, of slavery. But I share that not as a diminishment or a degradation of who we are today. I think sometimes we can feel that we're being blamed for things in the past. That's not what this is about. It's about understanding our place in the story and how God is inviting us to live a new story together, to bring about the kingdom of God. One of the beautiful pieces of history that I'd like to share that many might not know is the origin of watch nights. This is connected in with Juneteenth and the Emancipation Proclamation. In 1863, the first watch nights were officially held in secret, mind you, and the African American community gathered together in anticipation to pray and to wait for the Emancipation Proclamation to become legally binding, to become law. And thus, that launched a history of watch nights that continues in many African American congregations around the world. Around the country, rather. It's time of celebration and joy, of remembering the hardships of the past year and celebrating the gifts that God is providing in the future. And that's beautiful. But what we may not be aware of, if we were aware of that history, is what January 1st used to mean for the enslaved. Pre-Civil War and pre-freedom, December 31st was a night of darkness, of pain and grief. It is the last night of the year when the enslaved knew that the next day their children could be taken away because they were sold the night before, or their spouse might be taken across the country, leased out to another person for whatever work they needed done. It was a time of families being torn apart. And so when we think about watch nights with that added history, we see that not only is it a celebration of liberation, it is a complete overturning of the world that they knew, of taking a night of sorrow and pain and turning it into a night of joy and restoration. And we wouldn't know that. We wouldn't know the power of that moment without the history in it. So I invite us as we come into our Juneteenth celebration to ponder how this is inviting us to know our stories better, the past and the present, to see where God's inviting us to be a part of that movement of the Spirit of restoration, of healing, so that tomorrow may be more like the kingdom of God that we all cry out for, where all are free, where all are liberated, where the love of God is known and lived out in every aspect of our lives. So come, join us this Juneteenth, and let us celebrate the liberating, the life-giving awesomeness of our God.